Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Let you perceive forgiveness as it is. Welcome back, fam. Today we will be studying lesson 134 of A Course in Miracles. So be ready to be blown away and go ahead and pull up to the lesson. If you don't got the book yet, the PDF is in the description. Let's go ahead and begin. Lesson 134. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Let us review the meaning of forgive, for it is apt to be distorted and to be perceived as something that entails an unfair sacrifice of righteous wrath, a gift unjustified and undeserved, and a complete denial of the truth. In such a view, forgiveness must be seen as mere eccentric folly, and this course appear to rest salvation on a whim. Now, one thing that I do want to say is this statement right here is so true, where it states that forgiveness is apt to be distorted and perceived as something that entails an unfair sacrifice of righteous wrath, and a gift unjustified and undeserved, a complete denial of the truth. So if we really break this down here, have you ever known that you had to forgive someone and then you say the words that go something like this: I forgive but I don't forget? That's a statement that we hear from time to time, whether it's from ourselves or from others, and that is because the reason why that individual says it in that way is because they believe that they are giving an unjustified and undeserved gift. So they're basically saying, you know what, you did me wrong, and that's true, you did something so bad to me, but I forgive you, but I don't forget. And that's just showing how much they believe, whether they're aware or not, that they are giving a gift, which is forgiveness in this case, that they believe is unjustified and undeserved, but they are giving it because they feel like they're obligated to say the words, I forgive you, or whatever reason they say those words, they are not really meaning it because they haven't forgot it, meaning they believe that what that individual did was actually true, when we are going to break this down further in this lesson and understand that what individuals do that is out of fear is a call for love. It is not true. Me and you can never do anything in these bodies, in this world, that can change truth, meaning whenever we see an individual who is the same as we are, which is not that body, which is love and light, and they do something in a way that causes us to get angry and upset and irritated, etc., they did something that is not true, because they can never do anything to you that could get you upset or any of those emotions. You are the one who projected all of that on them because you really had that to give. Remember, we can't give what we don't have. So the fact that this person can give you something and you got triggered by it just shows you how much you had to, how large of a role you had to play in that situation. Now, me and you are unaware that this is going on, but just keep in mind that anytime we are getting something from anyone that we would not prefer, we are the ones who are doing it ourselves. And I'm sure we know this by now, but it's important to continuously restate this, because until we are anchored in that knowingness, we are going to believe that there is something outside of us that can change our state of mind, i.e. have power over us, and we are the only source of power in our world. Now, another statement that it states right here is a complete denial of the truth. So whenever an individual forgives and they believe that they're giving an unjustified and undeserved gift because this individual did something so true and so hurtful that I can't forget it, although I feel obligated to forgive, so I'm going to forgive, although they don't really know the true meaning of forgiveness, what's happening here is they believe that they are denying truth. They're denying, since they believe this act that their brother committed in this situation, in this example, they believe that because they are saying I forgive you, they're denying truth, when in reality they are seeing, if they were in the right mind, the unreality of the act that their brother committed, that individual over there committed. They would see the unreality of it, and they were just, in that moment, it was a cry for love. It was a cry for help, whatever it is that they perceive that individual to have done for them. And not only, again, remember something we've talked about in earlier lessons, it's not so much about what's happening outside of you, but what you think about it. So although this individual played a role in getting you upset, you both co-created that experience, because you couldn't have got upset if you didn't have upset to give. You couldn't have got upset if you didn't have an emotional charge to whatever it is that they did. Remember, if someone could push your buttons, that means that you must have buttons to push. Pretty common sense whenever we're in the woke mind like we are now. But it's hard to see that whenever we are asleep, which is why me and you are practicing this state of mind right now while we are awake. So whenever we do fall asleep and we are in the world of fear and illusion, we can see situations as they really are, which is either I am in my right mind or I am not in my right mind, and I would like to do something about getting back into my right mind, because there is nothing that I want while identifying with the ego, while identifying with the body. There is nothing that I want while being in worry, doubt, and fear. I'm on a hamster wheel that is going to continuously perpetuate itself if I don't wake the hell up. And me and you are here doing that right now, is waking up if we are not already woke already. And me and you have to take this very seriously from now on, because again, there is no purpose for being asleep other than knowing what you don't want. It'll help you know more clearly what you do want, but don't stay asleep. Focus on the birth of the new desire that you gave birth to, meaning we've talked about this many times. Whenever you're experiencing something that you believe is unwanted and you believe it is something that you wouldn't prefer, you first of all have to understand that you were a co-creator in that experience, so you do have a role to play with that unwanted experience. But secondly, that unwanted experience actually is helping you clearly define what it is that you do want that you didn't know prior to that occurring. And now you could focus all your attention back in being in your right mind and in the attainment of that brand new birth that you launched, that rocket of desire, so to speak, that you launched. But so much of the time we are not doing that. We are staying upset in that tiny little mad idea that we had, thinking that something occurred to us outside of us, therefore we're powerless unnecessarily. And this is a hamster wheel that we've been going on for a time longer than needed. We are going to discontinue that thought system right now, because again, it is unnecessary. There is no purpose for it. It serves no purpose. It is foolish of us to remain in that thought system. After knowing what me and you know, it's very foolish to remain there. And it's important to understand that we have to be aware whenever we are there, because it's kind of a funny thing. As you think about this, you can't get somewhere where you don't know there is. You can't get to a place where you don't know exists. You cannot get to a place that you do not know exists. Meaning, whenever someone who is identifying with ego and believing they're the body and they know nothing of this magnitude of information that we are discussing, they can't get here because they are unaware that it exists. Meaning, it's a hamster wheel that they are running around in circles, thinking that they're doing something when really nothing's really being accomplished in truth. But however, me and you, who have reached this state of mind on a consistent basis now, know that this is here. Therefore, we can get here. Before we couldn't, because we were unaware that the state of mind existed. We thought that this was conditional, meaning I only felt good whenever X, Y, and Z occurred. Now me and you know that X, Y, and Z occur as a result of us feeling this way. So let's go ahead and continue, but let's just understand that in such a view, forgiveness must be seen as mere eccentric folly, and this course appeared to rest salvation on a whim. And we are going to continue and see how true forgiveness operates, what true forgiveness is, because it is not what we just read here, which is what most of the world believes. It is not an unjustified and undeserved gift. It is simply looking at the situation as it really is, with love. This twisted view of what forgiveness means is easily corrected when you can accept the fact that pardon is not asked for what is true and must be limited to what is false. It is irrelevant to everything except illusions. Truth is God's creation, and to pardon that is meaningless. All truth belongs to Him, reflects His laws, and radiates His love. Does this need pardon? How can you forgive the sinless and eternally benign? The major difficulty that you find in genuine forgiveness on your part is that you still believe you must forgive the truth and not illusions. One more time. The major difficulty that most people find in genuine forgiveness on our part is that we still believe that we must forgive truth. We believe that that individual, the way they acted and the way they came at us, is true. We believe that a situation that occurred in the past where we could have made a better decision and we beat ourselves up for it to this day, we believe that that state of mind that we made that decision from is true. We believe the false as true and not illusions, which is what it really is. And that is why it's so hard to forgive, because we believe that we are denying truth whenever we say that we are going to forgive. And therefore, we are not going to do that because we know that this person did this, or I made this mistake and I shouldn't have done that, or this situation occurred and this is what happened and this is true. And for me to forgive this situation would be a denial of truth. I would be foolish for me to forgive this situation or this person or myself, because it would be an undeserved gift. And that is just not so. Forgiveness is helping me and you return to the state of mind where we can look upon that situation that happened and see it as it really is, as it really was, which is, again, a cry for love, a call for love, a call for help. That is all there ever is love, and an individual who is acting in a way that they are looking for love because they don't believe that they are that, because they forgot who they are. They believe that they are something other than what they really are. They believe that they are the body. They believe that they are this tiny little self-image that they made for themselves that is better than or less than, and is looking for salvation, i.e. happiness and love and light and joy outside of itself, when really the only place you're ever going to find it is within. And the only way you're going to find it is forgiving everyone and everything out there that you believe has power over you, because whenever you remember that you are the source of all that is, from your perspective, you are the source of every single thing that occurs in your life, then you are free. You are free. And the only way to be free is through forgiveness. That is the function that me and you share as the light of the world, is forgiveness. And we must forgive ourselves. And although it may appear like we are forgiving people outside of ourselves, we are only really forgiving ourselves. Me and you have discussed this at length in previous lessons. Just a quick little recap is, whenever you believe that you're forgiving this individual, you are really forgiving yourself for projecting a distorted image of who they really are on them, and forgiving yourself for seeing something that was really not there and believing that it was there. So we are diving into some really deep concepts right now. This is some powerful psychology right here. This is some powerful truth. This is just how things work, and we have been unaware of it up until now, and being aware of it now is going to give us the edge whenever we do fall asleep, so that way we can actually wake up and see everything that's happening as it really is, which is an illusion. Whenever you are awake in the dream, now you have power to construct the dream, if you will, make a better dream, if you will, to have a good dream instead of a bad dream, because whenever you're in this place of control, you are basically above it. You can only control something that you are at cause over. The illusion is what you are at cause over. It is not at cause over you. You are not the effect of the world you see. You are the cause of the world you see. And what you see outside of yourself can change just as fast as an instant whenever you first change and alter your internal world, because they are in fact the same. But the only difference between your internal world and your external world is that one is at the cause and the other one is at the effect. Now, I'm sure me and you are in agreement that our internal world and our perception is the cause of what happens out there, and not the other way around. Because if it were the other way around, me and you would be doomed for eternity. Me and you would be screwed. Me and you would not be in a good position if our internal world and state of mind were at the effect of the outside world. That would be no good. So let's be grateful that it is not that way. And one more thing I do want to say before we continue is that a lot of people wish it were that way because it takes off all of the stress from them, because now they believe that situation that they got in, whether it was a car accident or an argument or sickness or lacking money, etc., they want to believe that it's not their fault. And that makes sense, right? It makes sense that they would want to believe that it is not their fault, because it makes them feel adequate and it makes them feel like they are the ones who are vulnerable here and it's happening outside of themselves. But if they were to accept the fact that they had a larger role than they may believe in the experiencing of those situations, then they would take back all their power, and now and only now can they do something about altering it and changing it and improving the quality of their life. But they can't do that whenever they believe that they are at the effect of the world they see, which is why it's important for us to understand that we do the same thing from time to time. Me and you believe that we are at the effect of the world we see, and once we take full responsibility, and now and only now can we begin to alter what's out there, by first understanding that the only way to alter what's out there is to first alter what is within. Because this twisted viewpoint but reflects the hold that the idea of sin retains as yet upon your mind as you regard yourself. Because you think your sins are real, you look on pardon as deception. For it is impossible to think of sin as true and not believe forgiveness is a lie. Thus, is forgiveness really but a sin, like all the rest? It says the truth is false, and smiles on the corrupt as if they were as blameless as the grass, as white as snow. It is delusional in what it thinks it can accomplish. It would see as right the plainly wrong, the loathsome as the good. Wow, that paragraph was powerful. Pardon is no escape in such a view. It merely is a further sign that sin is unforgivable, at best to be concealed, denied, or called another name. For pardon is a treachery to truth. Guilt cannot be forgiven. If you sin, your guilt is everlasting, and that is what the ego wants you to believe. Your ego wants you to believe that if you sin, your guilt is everlasting, meaning if you do something that is apart from God, if you do something that causes you to deviate from who you really are, if you make a mistake, that is what the ego considers a sin, which is something that is uncorrectable, meaning you sinned and your guilt is everlasting, which is an insane belief. And trust me, I am here to assure you that that is just not how things work around here. Me and you can never really do nothing to change truth, but individuals who believe that if you sin, your guilt is everlasting, they are believing what is not really there. They are believing that if they act a certain way that is apart from what they believe God wants them to act and how God wants them to act, or how anyone wants them to act, they believe that that guilt is everlasting, and that is what perpetuates that tiny little self-image they made for themselves. Whenever you are identifying with the ego, you are perpetuating that self-image, that ego, that tiny little false identity. You are perpetuating it by believing that you are unsavable, that you are not at the cause of the world you see. Because whenever you see guilt outside of yourself, you are just justifying it being within you, so you feel better. And again, we're not using these words, but this is what's happening beneath the surface. People are looking outside of themselves and seeing everyone else's guilt and everyone else's wrongdoings and mistakes and so-called sins, if you will, and they are judging them, not knowing that they are asleep in their wrong mind. They are literally sick in the mind because they're not in their right mind, and they are judging the world based off of what they believe is wrong, when really their whole perception of the world is screwed up. And whenever they do something about healing their perception, then they will see that everyone is going to act in the way that they are perceiving. Meaning, if someone is perceiving insanely, if someone is perceiving worry, doubt, and fear, they are going to be those individuals who cause wars, who cause arguments, who cause fights, who steal because they feel like there is lack, who do these things. You will know individuals who act in those type of ways are perceiving a fearful world, because no one could act out of accordance with their perception. Meaning, if you are in a state of love and light, you are going to act in that way. You are going to walk, talk, act, think, speak, and feel from that perspective. Everything we're discussing right now, I'm sure, is very much common sense to us right now. I'm sure this is common sense to you. Anyone could look and be like, of course, you're going to act in accordance with the way you perceive. But it's just not so common whenever you are identifying with the world out there, because the world is literally and was literally made to be in direct opposition to what the real world is. The real world is unchangeable, unalterable, and what God created and where everyone really is. And the world that we see outside of ourselves, the world that we see with these bodies' eyes, where all the material stuff is, where all the clothes, the cars, the relationships, the fear, the arguments, drama, etc., that's the world that was made to be in direct opposition to what God created. And me and you are here to undo all of our fears in whatever form they may take, so that way we perceive this world that we think is fearful as it really is. Me and you can live a heaven on earth, and I'm sure that's where we're at right now. And not only is this how we feel whenever we are in each other's presence, but we can feel like this all the time. This state of mind is something that is attainable forevermore at all moments in time. And whenever we're not feeling this way again, it is a big indicator letting us know that something has gone wrong. And the only thing that can ever go wrong is our belief that we are separate from this state of mind. So let's keep that in mind. Let's continue as well. Guilt cannot be forgiven. If you sin, your guilt is everlasting. Those who are forgiven from the view their sins are real are pitifully mocked and twice condemned. First, by themselves for what they think they did, and once again by those who pardoned them. It is sin's unreality that makes forgiveness natural and wholly sane, a deep relief to those who offer it, a quiet blessing where it is received. It does not countenance illusions, but collects them lightly with a little laugh and gently lays them at the feet of truth. And there they disappear entirely. Forgiveness is the only thing that stands for truth in the illusions of the world. It sees their nothingness and looks straight through the 1,000 forms in which they may appear. It looks on lies, but it is not deceived. It does not heed this self-accusing shrieks of sinners mad with guilt. It looks on them with quiet eyes and merely says to them, "My brother, what you think is not the truth." And that is me and you in this moment. We look upon the world and we simply say, "My brother, what you think is not the truth." And that is what we say to ourselves whenever we are not in our right minds is, "My brother, what you think is not the truth." And this is powerful. That's a tool we can consider. We just add it into our tool belt, and we can use that line right there whenever we do fall asleep. And we have to understand that the whole world is asleep right now. A large, very large portion of the world is asleep, which means that whenever you and me go our separate ways and we go back out there in the world, it could be easy for us to fall asleep because we are outnumbered, so to speak. Now, that is just a false way of viewing things, because one person in alignment is more powerful than millions who are not, and no one has control over you. You are at the cause of yourself. You are the cause of why you stay awake, and you are the cause of why you go back to bed in the world of illusions. No amount of people out there can cause you to be out of your right mind, although you can be influenced, if you are identifying with the ego, to think with the world rather than to think, period. Because when you're thinking with the world, we can't really consider that thinking. You are hallucinating, and seeing something that is not really there: worry, doubt, fear, lack, etc. Now, whenever you are thinking, you are in your right mind, you are awake, and you see the illusion from above the battleground. You see the illusion from a bird's eye view, and you see these brothers outside of yourself and say, my brother, what you think is not the truth. Now, of course, you don't say that to them because they're going to feel defensive, because whenever you tell someone what they believe is true is not true, they could get defensive because you're challenging their belief systems. And everyone, you have to understand, every single person believes that their belief systems are true because they are perceiving from the lens that they are wearing. Remember the glasses analogy? It's been a minute since we've used. If I am wearing brown tinted shades, I'm going to see the world from that perspective, from that tint, from that tinted lens. And whenever someone comes to me and tells me, the world's not brown, the world's white, it's beautiful, it's light, it's this and that, and I'm like, you are crazy, the world is brown, can't you see it? And that's kind of what's going on. And it's a very interesting thing that me and you are doing here, because we are trying to show someone that they are perceiving with glasses that they are unaware that are there. Me and you are here to show individuals that they have a perception that they are unaware that is false, and we can remove that perception if they are willing to allow us to. Now, we are not going to say none of this to them because, again, it is requiring an individual's willingness to reach a state of mind of truth. If someone is not willing to get here, and if someone is not willing to believe that there is another way of looking at the situation, they're not going to be willing to learn what me and you know. Or another way of saying it is, they are not going to be willing to unlearn all of the illusions that they've made that is blocking them from perceiving what they already know. Because what this truth is an undeletable file in the mind of every single individual here. We cannot forget this truth, and it cannot be obliterated from our mind, although we can block it up so much that we cannot perceive it, but it can never be obliterated. It cannot be abolished. This is an undeletable file in our computers, in our minds. Now let's go ahead and continue, and let's make sure that me and you staying woke is our number one priority. But let's also remember that as the light of the world, me and you are going to wake individuals up, whether they are aware of that or not, whether we speak words to them about this information or not. By us being awake, individuals are going to be gravitating towards us because they are ready for this information that me and you have. They are in the vicinity of this information. And then whenever we know that they are willing to see the world that they believe is real differently, then we can do something about showing them the real world that me and you are experiencing right now. Whether we do that, whether we do that in whatever way we do that, we are going to make sure that that individual knows what we know, because that's what we want. We want every single one of our brothers who is ready for this information to be in possession of this information, because that is in everyone's best interest. Whenever they reawaken to who they really are, you are benefited by that, because that individual is another aspect of you. We are all one here, and it is much easier to remain enlightened whenever everyone around you is enlightened. And it is a little more challenging when you're first getting to the state of mind to stay here whenever you see and perceive a world that is completely opposed to this state of mind. So let's keep in mind that what is in someone else's best interest, which is being awake, is also in ours, and our enlightenment is in everyone else's best interest. The strength of pardon is its honesty, which is so uncorrupted that it sees illusions as illusions, not as truth. It is because of this that it becomes the undeceiver in the face of lies, the great restorer of the simple truth. By its ability to overlook what is not there, it opens up the way to truth, which has been blocked by dreams of guilt. Now are you free to follow in the way your true forgiveness opens up to you. For if one brother has received this gift of you, the door is open for yourself. And this is just another way of saying you give and you receive what you give. Giving and receiving are one in truth, meaning whenever you give forgiveness, you also open up that door to yourself as well, because we are all one aspect of creation here, me and you. And whenever we release ourselves from those chains by forgiving that person, we set ourselves free. And whether or not that individual sets themselves free by accepting our forgiveness, therefore forgiving us as well, they will be free. But remember, they are in charge of their state of mind. So although you forgive an individual, whether you say that to their face if you feel led to, or from the comfort of your mind at home, you can set yourself free right now in this instant by forgiveness. And everyone can, but the challenging part is that most people would rather be right than be happy. And let's not let that be our downfall today. There is a very simple way to find the door to true forgiveness and perceive it open, wide, in welcome. When you feel that you are tempted to accuse someone of sin in any form, do not allow your mind to dwell on what you think he did, for that is self-deception. Ask instead, would I accuse myself of doing this? Thus will you see alternatives for choice in terms that render choosing meaningful, and keep your mind as free of guilt and pain as God Himself intended it to be, and as it is in truth. It is but lies that would condemn. In truth is innocence, the only thing there is. One more time. In truth is innocence, the only thing there is. Forgiveness stands between illusions and the truth, between the world you see and that which lies beyond, between the hell of guilt and heaven's gate. So we can think of forgiveness as a bridge between the real world and the world that is not really there. Me and you are in the real world right now. I'm sure you're here with me. And we are in a state of mind where forgiveness is unnecessary right now, because we are in our right mind. We no longer need to forgive ourselves. We no longer need to forgive someone else right now, because we are here in this instant, free, and we are limitless and aware of that limitlessness. We are in our power right now. Therefore, we made it. We no longer need no bridge. But, however, whenever we do fall asleep and we are in the world of illusions, seeing guilt outside of ourselves, we are seeing jealousy, envy, we are accusing someone for doing something that they shouldn't have done, etc. That is the moment in time whenever we could definitely apply forgiveness, because forgiveness is our function as the light of the world. And whenever we are not being the light of the world, we will know, because we will not feel at peace like we do now. Now, forgiveness, again, is going to be that bridge that allows you to be from where you think you are to return to the state of mind where you've always been. Let's continue. Across this bridge, as powerful as love which laid its blessings on it, are all dreams of evil and of hatred and attack brought silently to truth. They are not kept to swell and bluster and to terrify the foolish dreamer who believes in them. He has been gently awakened from his dream by understanding what he thought he saw was never there. And now he cannot feel that all escape has been denied to him. He does not have to fight to save himself. He does not have to kill the dragons which he thought pursued him, nor need he erect the heavy walls of stone and iron doors he thought would make him safe. He can remove the ponderous and useless armor made to chain his mind to fear and misery. His step is light, and as he lifts his foot to stride ahead, a star is left behind to point the way to those who follow him. Beautiful imagery right there. Now, I believe a good way to say what this paragraph is conveying is that whenever you are in a dream, let's say a nightmare, okay? You're having a nightmare and you perceive a fearful dragon. Now, trying to fight and destroy that dragon is not going to get you out of the dream, because although you believe you conquered the fear, you're fighting against something that is not really there. Therefore, you're still sleeping. To wake up completely is to see that the dragon was never there and there's nothing to fight against, which is why it states right here, he does not have to fight to save himself. He does not have to kill the dragons which he thought pursued him. Meaning, if I believe I'm being pursued by dragons in my dream, me trying to fight those dragons again is perpetuating the dream, because I am trying to fight something that is not really real. I am just fighting an illusion. But if I believe that there are dragons that I thought pursued me, what I would do to conquer, if you will, that situation would be to wake up and understand that it never really happened to begin with. Same thing with people in this world, including me and you from time to time, is we believe that we have to struggle our way to what we call success, or we have to sacrifice happiness in order to get what we want. And that is a part of the dream, because whenever we wake up, we would understand that we are already where we want to be. We are already in love and light, and there is no need to fight something in order to attain what we already have. It's already here. We just have to wake up and understand that there was never anything opposing us but us. There was never anything outside of you, like a dragon in this case, opposing you, stopping you from getting to where you want to be. There was nothing that was necessary for you to have that resistance to moving forward. You were the resistance, but the resistance was not outside of you. You imposed that resistance on yourself, and whenever you no longer fight against the resistance but remove it completely, then you are in a state of outrageous joy and very quick moving forward. You are in a state of rapid expansion in all aspects of your life, and it's a wonderful state to be in. He can remove the ponderous and useless armor he made to chain his mind to fear and misery. His step is light, and he lifts his foot to stride ahead a star left behind to point the way to those who follow him. Forgiveness must be practiced, for the world cannot perceive its meaning, nor provide a guide to teach you its beneficence. Now this is powerful. It states forgiveness must be practiced, for the world cannot perceive its meaning. Now, although we are using very good words here that are hard to misinterpret to explain how powerful forgiveness is, we will never really know how powerful it is until we actually practice it. And with that practice will come that experience, and with that experience will we get those tiny little stacks of wins and confidence that, oh, this is true. Whenever I truly forgive, I feel better. I feel enlightened. I feel free. And as we practice it, it will become more and more and more true, because as we practice something and as we experience something, we are learning. And that is how we begin to understand the beneficence of what it is forgiveness has to offer. There is no thought in all the world that leads to any understanding of the laws it follows, nor the thought that it reflects. It is as alien to the world as is your own reality, and yet it joins your mind with the reality in you. Today we practice true forgiveness, that in time of joining be no more delayed. For we would meet with our reality in freedom and in peace. Our practicing becomes the footsteps lighting up the way for all our brothers who will follow us to the reality we share with them. That this may be accomplished, let us give a quarter of an hour twice today and spend it with the guide who understands the meaning of forgiveness and was sent to us to teach it. Let us ask of him, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Then choose one brother as he will direct, and catalog his sins as one by one they cross your mind. Be certain not to dwell on any one of them, but realize that you are using his offenses but to save the world from all ideas of sin. Briefly consider all the evil things you thought of him, and each time ask yourself, would I condemn myself for doing this? And we wouldn't. We would understand that in times of an individual doing something out of fear, we will ask ourselves, would I condemn myself for doing this? And the answer is going to be no, because we've done the same thing that that individual has done. The reason that we have gotten mad at someone for something, whatever it may have been, we have done that before. Meaning we've been in their shoes before, and we would not condemn ourselves if we were in our right mind to what this individual is doing, because we understand that we have been in a state of a call for love as well. We have been in a state where we acted insanely because we did not know what was in our own best interest. The only reason why we acted that way is because we were asleep to who we really are. And as we look at this brother who acted insanely, now we know that we can show them some compassion, because they are only acting that way because they are in that moment unaware of who they really are. Now, right now, it's letting us know that for this practice period, we are going to choose an individual and catalog all of his so-called sins and offenses and everything we have believed they have done wrong to us. And that individual is most likely popping up in your mind right now. A few people, for example, may be popping up in your mind right now that you know you need to forgive, that you hold some grievances on, and that individual is your work. Do not try to change the individual to someone else who you feel more comfortable about. You want to do the most uncomfortable person that you could think of right now, if that is something that you feel led to do, and forgive that individual. And if that's too large of a jump, then choose somebody else who does have a little bit less amount of grievances you hold. But just know that whenever you have that brother or individual in your mind, we are going to do as the Course guides us to do for today's lesson. Let him be freed from all the thoughts you had of sin in him, and now you are prepared for freedom. If you have been practicing thus far in willingness and honesty, you will begin to sense a lifting up, a lightening of weight across your chest, a deep and certain feeling of relief. And this is also implying that if we have not been practicing thus far in willingness and honesty, then we will not experience a sense of lifting up, lightening of weight across our chest, and a deep and certain feeling of relief. So just know, if you're feeling relief, you are practicing willingly and honestly. And you are not doing so willingly and honestly if you do not feel those emotions. If you do not feel that relief, you are too focused on what they did wrong and still believing that you are, by forgiving them, offering an undeserved gift, because you believe that you are denying the truth of what they did, when really the forgiveness is to help you see the unreality of what they did. They were simply asleep whenever they committed that horrible act you believe they did. Now, let's continue. The time remaining should be given to experiencing the escape from all the heavy chains you sought to lay upon your brother, but were laid upon yourself. And that's exactly what's happening. Whenever we think that we're laying chains upon someone else by not forgiving them, we're only really laying chains upon ourselves, because that individual is us. We are one with all aspects of creation, and me and you have to learn to understand that on a deeper level. Because right now we think that we see bodies. We think that that individual over there is a body. But remember, it is insane to think of a body attacking a body whenever you're in your right mind. Because think about dust attacking dust. Think about nothing attacking nothing. It is meaningless. It means nothing. But whenever you see that individual as love and light, as who you really are, then you would never not forgive them, because you understand that forgiving them is going to actually release the chains you put on yourself. And you're going to understand that condemning that individual is hurting nobody but yourself. Forgiveness should be practiced through the day, for there will still be many times when you forget its meaning and attack yourself. And that's exactly, again, what's happening. In other words, whenever you do not forgive somebody, you are in a state of perpetually attacking yourself. Whenever you think any thoughts about yourself or anyone or anything that are based on fear, you're attacking yourself. And you will know because you're not at peace. When this occurs, allow your mind to see through this illusion as you tell yourself, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Would I accuse myself of doing this? I will not lay this chain upon myself. In everything you do, remember this. No one is crucified alone, and yet no one can enter heaven by himself. And this is powerful. One more time. No one is crucified alone, meaning if you crucify that individual, meaning if you condemn that individual, you're doing it to yourself as well, because you cannot do it to them alone. You receive what you give. What you give and receive are one in truth. Giving and receiving are one in truth. Although the ego believes that if you give something, you no longer have it, which is where projection plays a very large role in this world. We believe that if we project the guilt out there and if we project the anger out there, then we give it away. Therefore, we no longer have it. We're free. And we're really not, because me and you are one with all aspects of creation. And now we believe that our projections, and although we're not saying this or aware of this, we believe that our projections of that worry, doubt, and fear and guilt and anger that we projected out there are something that we believe are going to come back at us, therefore making us frightened and fearful and in a world that is perceived as chaotic when it's really not. It's all of your making, and me and you are here to dispel that belief system based on nothing. It's false. It is not really there. It is of your own making, and you and me can perceive a beautiful world, which is the world that God created, and it is here right now. We can experience that forevermore if we no longer get in our own way. And yet, the Course states, no one can enter heaven by himself, meaning the way you enter heaven is by forgiving this individual and releasing the chains that you have laid upon yourself. So although, and I'm going to read this one more time, yet no one can enter heaven by himself, meaning although you appear to be forgiving this individual for whatever they did, and you're letting them off the hook and sending them to heaven and letting them free, you are really letting both of you guys free and off the hook, out of the chains, and you are the one who is being elevated as a result of forgiving that individual. Because, one more time, giving and receiving are one in truth, meaning if you give forgiveness, you forgive yourself. And if you give condemnation, you are condemning yourself. Now, this was a powerful lesson, very compact with a lot of information. Now we're going to pause right there, absorb all this, and do these lessons today. And like always, may we never be the same, and we will meet here again tomorrow for lesson 135 of A Course in Miracles.